And you mentioned that there is a way to align taxation with the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I think the alignment between tax and sustainable development is to use the information that we get from the Sustainable Development Goal assessments and feed that into the rules and the machinery of tax. This is a pretty technical world, a lot of experts working on tax all day, every day, and the rules are sort of hard and tedious. But the more information we have about where value is created, the more information we could feed into the existing paradigm and change it so that the countries where development needs are the highest are the ones that are getting the tax revenues. Right now, most of the profit is being booked to places that have low taxes, and that's something that the OECD countries have identified as something they need to change. What we need to do is take it just a little step further, use the information that we have about sustainable development, and feed it into the formula.
That's amazing. And there is a question here. It says, rethinking taxation in a globally integrated liberal economy. How to finance public spending without impairing competitiveness, innovation, and growth. Yeah. Something that the private sector is concerned about at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the key, right? That is that what is the main thing that investors are looking for? What is the main thing that business wants? They want to mitigate the risk of loss because they're trying to be productive. And so what we want is a healthy relationship between tax and growth, between tax and development. So the key for investment and the key for business is to understand that when you get into a vicious cycle where taxes aren't being deployed properly, where infrastructure isn't being invested in, that those are things that businesses are bearing the risk of today. So that's what we want to try to fix. We've got to try to mitigate the risk of investing and mitigate the risk of investing in an environment where there's a vicious cycle between tax and development that's producing under productive assets, underproductive investments. And we want to get ourselves on the track to a virtuous cycle between tax and development where tax is being raised in a productive way to fund productive investment in the infrastructure that then is the support. That's the support, the public support of investment. That's the public, and it's cooperative. You can't force this on anyone. You have to try to work with capital. You got to cooperate with capital. You can't force things on it.
And how popular is this notion that you're mentioning? It seems very ideal, but do you think that countries will move towards that form of cooperation? Because some countries seem to be very hesitant in working with the private sector. A lot of things are public, and then there are other countries, with great free market trade, which is, I think, something that independent financial advisors love.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the past and the present and the future. In the past, we had countries engaging in investment promotion agreements and stabilization clauses and so on. And it created a sort of a problem over time because those things have sort of hamstrung governments and they have felt that they didn't get their fair share of the deal and people decide that they would like a different contract. There's a lot of conflict. But when there's new deal flows, that's the time to have this discussion. In a new deal flow, in a new investment, is the time that a government can sit down with a company or prospective investors and say, what is it that you need? You want stability in government. You want strong governance. You do not want corruption. You do not want faulty infrastructure. You want stability. So we want to deliver that to you, and we want to work with you. And if you work with us, then what we can do is get more information about sustainable, what it means to be sustainable, and then use that to work in the market with those companies that aren't as willing to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's the alignment. Government needs to align with businesses that want as a preference to work on sustainable projects. And that's going to move the Overton window, as they say, right? Is show us what's feasible. And so in my project, I'm saying, look, here's a small thing. If one country took my proposal and said, okay, let's test run it, what would it take to do this? I actually think it's pretty simple. It's just, it takes a little bit of courage to say, okay, we need to reach out to our stakeholders and see how this would work. And try it and talk to people and get it moving. But there's so much worry that if you step out, you're the tall poppy syndrome. If you step out, then you get lopped off. And I think that's the thing that probably we need to work